Directed writing according to audience and purpose.
Hi English learners. A warm Namibian welcome to all our NAMCO learners and everybody else interested in learning to write in better English. This is lesson 4 in our 5-part series for advanced subsidiary level English second language learners. In lesson 1, we spoke about good paragraph writing. In lesson 2, language devices. And last time in lesson 3, forming compound and complex sentences. Today, directed writing according to audience and purpose. Our syllabus requires grade 12 learners to be able to organize ideas well in writing for a specified audience and purpose. It is called directed writing. And one example of this writing is a blog. We'll get to the blog next time. Thanks for your company and listening. You got to know me already as Miss Monica, the English teacher. With me is Paulus, my grade 12 learner. Hi, Paulus.
Hello, Miss Monica. Thank you for agreeing for me to come in today for this extra class. I need help in understanding the concept of directed writing.
Oh, don't worry, Paulus. It sounds way more complicated than it actually is. Basically, you should just know that before a person starts with any focused writing activity, there's some, let's call it pre-writing decision making to be done.
That's what I mean. It sounds so complicated.
Not at all. And I'm sorry to use such complicated terms, but you should know what the syllabus calls them. Otherwise, you'll feel lost in an exam when you get an instruction that uses these terms. Basically, all it means is you should always consider your audience and the purpose of your writing. Anyone who may read what you write is your audience. It is also important to plan based on what you want to achieve with the communication.
Well, I always consider my teacher as the audience. I address my writing tasks to you.
And that's okay, but remember, it is better to prepare to write as you would in the real world. A real-world audience will make your writing more interesting and focused.
And with real world, you mean whom I would normally write to when I'm not in school and writing because I'm told to?
Of course, ask yourself, who will read this communication in a normal setting? And why would I be writing it? This helps you decide what you want to achieve through your writing. And there are usually 2 types of audiences, the general and the specific. Any guess as to what these are?
Goodness, no.
Content for a general audience applies to a topic that might interest anyone, whereas a specific audience is when you may occasionally be writing to a single individual, like your best friend, a newspaper editor. A specific audience can also refer to a group of people you can write to, such as your parents, college students, or the members of a WhatsApp group. So this is a specific audience.
So when I write to a specific audience, I know them personally?
No, not necessarily. Like if you write a letter to the newspaper editor, you don't necessarily know him or her personally. But before you direct your writing at this audience, you should know something about their age, culture, education, interests, location, gender, beliefs, and experience. When you write to them, you pitch your words and ideas at the level you associate with them.
But why? Why can't I just speak the same to anybody?
No, the audience is a critical consideration in writing because it determines your choice of words, your content, tone, and diction or expression.
Sure. I don't even know what those terms mean, let alone apply them.
That is why we are having a lesson about them, Paulus. Content is the information you choose to include or exclude in the text. You would not include complicated statistics if your audience is elementary school children, but you would for the principal or the governor because they can understand and work with such figures.
Yes, that makes total sense. I have to sometimes think really hard how to explain something to my little sister in a way that she would understand.
Tone shows your attitude about the subject that you are writing about. You might keep your tone neutral to try and reach a more general audience, some of whom might have political or religious beliefs contrary to your own. But if you are preaching to the choir, or when you are writing for people who share your feelings about an environmental matter, you can take a strong stand because you would not offend anybody.
Yes, I understand, ma'am. You mentioned an interesting word, diction. It sounds like dictionary.
Precisely. Diction deals with word choices and the way you choose to express your ideas. You will not use slang when writing for an educated adult audience, but you could do so if you are writing to your peers.
That's true. Imagine me saying, "How's it?" to the principal. He would fry me.
Yes, better use appropriate words when speaking to specific audiences.
I can see what you mean. That one has to think about the audience and the purpose of the writing before starting to write.
Good. Now I have two pieces of text here. As you listen to the reading of the text, I would like you to determine and tell me whether the audience is general or specific.
How do I tell?
Have you already forgotten, Paulus? You listen to the content, tone, and diction to work out who the audience might be.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Miss Monica. I'm listening.
Passage A. Scorpions are misunderstood and feared creatures. Humans crush these innocent creatures without a thought. These exceptional animals are not insects, as many believe. They are related to crustaceans like shrimp and crayfish. Since scorpions only live in warm and dry climates, people in the cold north do not need to be concerned with the safety and preservation plan outlined here. That is it. Now tell me, what do the content, tone, and word choices tell you about the audience? Was this piece for a general or a specific audience?
Well, the text has quite a serious tone. The tone is quite formal, and there were quite formal words. It must be for a general audience.
You've got it right. Now see how this text compares. Passage B. I am writing this from a hospital bed. I had an epic battle with my 10-centimeter arch enemy yesterday. The evil thing ambushed me by hiding in my stupid shoe. Then after stinging me, it came after me with both guns blazing. I was a goner even before the battle began.
Sure, poor guy. You read very well, Miss Monica. I could visualize everything as you read.
All right. I assume you are talking about what you heard in the content, tone, and diction or word choices. What can you tell me about the audience here?
Oh, this space is meant for a quite specific audience. Either a friend, a parent, or even a blog post. I say this based on the informal tone in which it is presented and choice of vocabulary. For example, saying his stupid shoes. You can't talk to a general audience like that.
That's correct, Paulus. So, you can see why we have to do a bit of thinking before starting to write. We say the consideration of purpose is an important part of pre-writing. There are broadly 4 purposes for writing. People can write to instruct and to explain how something is done. In addition to that, people can write their memoirs and diaries. And generally, we can say people write to express themselves and their ideas.
Yes, I get it. I'm just thinking about comedians. They write to entertain and present humor and enjoyable material through stories and plays.
That's right. And others write to persuade, to convince readers to do or believe something, such as in the editorial of a newspaper. The text in an encyclopedia will be for the only purpose of informing.
So, the reasons why people write are to instruct, to entertain, to persuade, and to inform. Those are the four broad purposes.
Yes, and this is why it is so important to think and prepare for a directed writing activity. Now, I am going to give you a two-part task. I will read a scenario, and you should listen very carefully to the scenario. Then decide whether the tone and choice of vocabulary should be formal tone or not.
All right, miss. I'm listening.
Here goes. A month ago, you were out with some friends and got into a bit of trouble. Your parents grounded you for a month. You have never been in trouble in any way before that. Now that it is over, they have told you that you can go out again with friends on Friday and Saturday evenings only, provided you are always home by 9 p.m. You would like the rules to be more lenient. Several of your friends have plans for the coming Saturday, plans that would require you to only get home by 11 p.m. at the earliest. Here are your two tasks. You are going to write a note to your friends to explain the situation, and you are going to write a message to your parents in which you ask for a different set of rules.
Yo, I'm glad I'm not really in that situation. That's a tough one.
Now, remember that you are not writing to me. You have to think about the audience and the purpose of each writing task and pitch your language accordingly. So, think about the message content, the tone or attitude that you take, the choice of words.
I am sure these two letters will differ a lot from each other in many ways.
Yes, the note to your friends will be informal, and that to your parents will be formal and apologetic, right?
To my parents, for sure.
Well, I'll leave you to start on your assignment then. All the best. And thank you for hosting the lesson with me again today, Paulus.
Thank you for the class, Miss Monica. I feel much more confident now about tackling a piece of directed writing. It's all about thinking carefully whom you are writing to and what you're trying to achieve with the communication.
Exactly. Listeners, and now that we have looked at the important activities of pre-writing, as we prepare for directed writing, our next lesson will tackle a specific directed writing aspect. We'll talk about the writing of a blog. I can see Paulus is really excited about that, so we'll probably have him on the program again. We both say goodbye then and speak to you again very soon. Bye.
Bye.
This lesson is produced by NAMCOL with funding from the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture.